Alright, fight fans, we are back. This is going to be a little bit more of a part 2 video than a whole separate topic. So, if you haven't watched yesterday's video, go watch that. It's talking a little bit about the GOAT conversation. Who deserves to be in the GOAT conversation of MMA? I think it really boils down to a couple people, and I'm here to break out the records and look at everything and really analyze and break down who do we call the GOAT. Alright, so in my last episode, I said that it kind of came down to 5 people. I said Khabib Nurmagomedov, GSP, John Jones, Fedor Emelianenko, and Demetrius Johnson. That was my 5 GOATs. If you were to pick one of those 5, I can't really argue against you with any of those 5. But upon further investigation, I want to talk about John Jones. John Jones being on the height of the GOAT list, where I think a lot of people that do watch UFC nowadays have a love for John Jones, that it's more passion than what's actually going on with John Jones, because I think of what he's doing right now is tearing his legacy apart. Aside from that, I do want to still look at his UFC stats real quick. So his record is 28-1-1, 1 no contest for 12-6 elbows. That's probably going to be changed in the future, because now that it's legal, how is it going to negatively impact John Jones's record, since it's a legal strike now? You can legally do it, so he'll probably get that win back. So to be 29-1. First point I want to make against John Jones, and I don't even say this against him because I love his style. He's a great fighter. Between the PED use and him ducking Tom Aspinall right now, it makes it very hard to say that he's the GOAT, because the GOATs don't duck anybody. They don't duck anyone. And the crazy part, the part that makes me really think about this, is that he stood toe-to-toe with Rampage Jackson, Rashad Evans. He's fought scary people, scary individuals. I would argue that Rampage Jackson is one of the scariest individuals to fight. He's had nightmares thinking about fighting this guy. At the same time, he was in the prime of his athletic career, so it was a little different going in there. He still got that spark, that ambition, that vigor. Maybe now at the age that he's at, he thinks he's kind of solidified it himself, but he's holding up the heavyweight division. If you're a heavyweight fan, which I know not a lot of people are, the heavyweights don't get a lot of love. But as of right now, he's the reason that heavyweights can't get that flow going of the contenders and these fights going, because the interim champ is wrapped up. He's already fought everybody. He's cleared the division. He has 1 fight left to make, and that's against the champion to be the champion. Why is there any conversation about anything else? Pereira going up to heavyweight, it would be a blockbuster fight. Yes, I understand that. But at some point, we got to follow the rules. The interim champion, he's the #1 contender, not Pereira. Pereira's an easier fight for John Jones. He's coming up a weight class. Yeah, they're the same height, but it's not the same. Pereira's not a wrestler. He's going to stand with you, and he's not going to go for any takedowns. And as we saw from Ankalaev, he has decent takedown defense, but Ankalaev is not the wrestler that John Jones is. So he was looking for like a legacy-altering fight where he beats somebody that not anybody other than Adesanya, nobody's beat him in the UFC. Now that Ankalaev has beat him, the hype of beating Pereira isn't as high. So what's he supposed to do now? Now he's asking for 6 months to prepare for Tom Aspinall? What has he been doing for the past year? He fought Stipe when? He fought Stipe UFC 309. I don't have an exact date for that, but I think that was like 4 or 5 months ago. You need another 6 months. You need a year to prepare for a contender. Why did you stop? This John Jones conversation, it really frustrates me, because I know that he has diehard fans. I think I'm one of them, but with the things that he's doing right now, it contradicts what the GOAT would be. The badass, the one that's going to face everybody in the division, knock everybody off, retire, and you will be able to maintain your legacy. But as of right now, what he's doing is the worst possible scenario for himself. John Jones, between the PEDs, him ducking, and him just being an overall cheater-esque fighter, it's tough to see him as the GOAT right now. If he would have retired right after the Stipe fight, all power to him, he would have been the GOAT forever. He's the only active fighter out of those 5 fighters that I talked about, other than DJ if he decides to continue fighting. But GSP's done. Fedor's been done. Oh my God, I hope he's done. There's talk of Fedor fighting in the BKFC with McGregor. This dude's almost 50. He's almost 50. What are we doing? Why do we want to see Fedor fight? We don't. We do not. All right. Other than that, GSP is not going to fight. Demetrius Johnson might. Fedor, he might, but it's going to be irrelevant. And Khabib's done. Respectable 29-0 record with no tarnishes. When I think about Khabib, though, I do hear that in Russia they do give a lot of vitamins to their fighters. Islam talked a little bit about this, and the Dagestani camp has always been kind of alleged for the vitamins that they give to their fighters from a young age. Who knows what the difference is that could make throughout your whole life. You're taking steroids at 12, 13, 14, 16, whenever you start. Does that carry over to if you stop for 10 years? Are you still going to be stronger than the average fighter? I don't know. And I don't know if he's actually failed the drug test, so I can't say anything about that. What I can say is for the star power of Khabib, for him to be 29-0, he has one fight with over 100 significant strikes landed. One fight. I'm sorry, but what a boring fighter. What a boring fighter for somebody that, I guess I'm thinking more of the stand-up, the knockouts, the beauty in the game, but he didn't put everything together. He wasn't the GOAT in the regard of, okay, I can do this style. He was just a better grappler than everybody at that time. Who knows, maybe those steroids at 12, 13, 14 carried over into that age. I don't know. Either way, he doesn't have the same star power that Jon Jones does, and he kind of left the division. He did clear a lot of people. It's tough, though. It's tough because I think if he was more well-rounded, like Islam's gonna get that GOAT title. I think over Khabib. I hope. Demetrius Johnson. I was looking at his record, and I forgot that he had that tragic loss to Dominic Reyes. Dominic Cruz. He got taken down 10 times in that title fight. What the fuck? What happened? For such a great practitioner of every martial art, I think DJ is one of the most perfect overall fighters. If you're looking to get into fighting and understand a little bit of fighting, watch DJ fight and how smart he fights. You're good. It doesn't matter whether he was on the ground, on his back, fighting Muay Thai, stand-up, throwing kicks, punches. He can compete with anyone. Oh yeah. Oh shoot. All right, brief intermission there, but back to what I was saying. I kind of forgot what I was talking about with Demetrius Johnson, but anyways, he does have a pretty decent fluke on his record. Who doesn't, though? Because even when we look at GSP, that's my GOAT, we got a couple losses up there. But when I judge a man, I don't judge him on how high he climbs, due to the fact of how high did he start. You have to look at the valleys. The valleys are where you determine character. When you hit the bottom, when you're at the top, and then you drop down to the bottom, and you make it back up to the top, that man is gonna have more respect in my eyes than the one that just coasted his whole career. And I don't mean coast, but if you're the greatest of all time and you maintain it your whole entire life, then no adversity. Okay, cool. I like adversity, though. I like when the greatest are challenged and they have to come back even better. It shows adaptability and it shows more heart, grit, determination, all things that I love. So, I think I kind of summed it up right there on why GSP is my GOAT. When you look back at his fights, yes, he lost to Matt Serra. Yes, he lost to Matt Hughes. If you look at the amount of times he was taken down in his whole career, it's like 5 times in his whole career. Whoa. He's fantastic. Anywhere you go, he's not going to end up on his back. Listen, like I said, there's the 2 fights that he didn't look too good, but he came back and destroyed those 2 people. He didn't leave it unmarked. He didn't lose those people, never fight them again. He fought those same people and demolished them. Really set the record straight on, listen, it was an off night. Everybody has an off night. So for him to come back and really prove that adversity that he had to take on, because he could have just left it there. GSP's a GOAT with no steroid use, and even, okay, real quick, on another separate note, other than those 2 losses, I know that his fight against Johnny Hendricks was always really in question on whether he won or lost, and especially if we're going to talk about Jon Jones and controversial wins, I think he lost to Alexander Gustafsson. And with that, Johnny Hendricks is one of the most juiced to the gills fighters that I think I've ever seen. When he was fighting these people, he was so steroided up that I think those fights that really should be nulled. He shouldn't have been fighting at those times. So, something that I just learned yesterday was that in the Olympics, when you win a gold medal, you are subject to testing. Your belt, your gold medal, is on the line for the next 25 years. So as we get better at testing these drugs and finding out that people were trying to hide these drugs or whatever the case may be, so let's say in 10 years, our advancements in medical science of trying to figure out what drugs fighters used or what benefits, because even Lance Armstrong, his thing wasn't necessarily drugs, it was blood transfusions, so he could rebuild those red blood cells and kind of rejuvenate himself a lot quicker. We didn't catch that at first. We caught that almost 10 years after the fact. And so with that in mind, I think the UFC should kind of incorporate that into the UFC as well. Your belt is on the line. Your reigning champ status is on the line for the next 10 years. Because as we get better at anti-doping and figuring out how to crack down on that, so real quick, if Johnny Hendricks, let's say he was able to beat the system back in 2016 or whatever, now that it's 2025, we have a better eye for what kind of drugs athletes use and how they hide them. So let's say if we were able to find out in 2025 that Johnny Hendricks was juice to the gills at that point, but we didn't know at that point, those fights should be taken over, or those asterisks in these people's careers, because John Jones, that's a very big asterisk that he almost got cooked by Johnny Hendricks. George St. Pierre, that's a huge asterisk on his career because he almost got cooked by Johnny Hendricks. So, I don't know where I stand here. I mean, I do. GSP is still my GOAT. I still want to hear where you guys go after with all of these takes. I know I said a lot. Let me hear from you guys. Other than that, have a great rest of your day, fight fans. I'll talk to you guys in a little bit. Peace.